So I was just thinking, there's this aspect where I'm feeling pretty on top form this morning, and I was thinking, well, what's contributing to that feeling on top form, because I guess other people might think about, well, how does that come about, because often we kind of think about like, oh, such a buddy, he's like that and I'm like this, or such a thing, and that there's no way of kind of getting to that point, but it's kind of like there's contributory factors that have led to that, and so there's all sorts going on, and it's a little bit like, well, first of all, I'm thinking about choices that I made over the weekend, and so that included deciding not to watch the England match that night and go to bed on time, relatively, and then kind of keeping my sleep routine, as in going to bed at a certain time, even though I might wake up early sometimes. The other thing is like the healthy food choices that I've made, keeping to my diet relatively, or not eating junk food and all that and processed stuff, and eating my carnivore plus some raspberries and stuff. Other factors are keeping my morning routine, going for my walks. I went for a walk yesterday evening as well. So it's that kind of walking aspect and being out in nature. I was reading a study this morning about people that wore rose oil for a period of time, and people that didn't for a period of time. Now what it was showing is that there was changes in their brain over like a relatively short period of time, to show that their brain had kind of grown in certain areas, grey matter and stuff, and kind of basically neuroplasticity that was coming from smelling the rose smell, which is amazing, isn't it? And we're getting all that when we get out in nature, but also it's things like having tidied up all my emails, there not being a clutter on my emails, and having cracked on with that work and made sure that's all done. And also, these are all contributory factors for me to be feeling good at this moment in time, and then also, I got a new lawnmower delivered. That was a happy moment yesterday. So yeah, that's a positive vibe, because my other one broke. There's also this aspect of, I'd been working with my boys on stuff for ages and doing this magazine and leaflet delivery, and they did a great job overall, even though it was difficult to get it all in the bag this month, and they got paid for that yesterday, which is good. It's reflecting on their achievement and what they've managed to do, which is nice. And I guess the other factors are like, there was the football awards ceremony and stuff for my son and things, and I could have had a couple of drinks and stuff like that, but I decided not to, and just drank water and stuff like that, and that was a good choice, I guess, reflecting on that little bit of it is like, I was chatting to a dude in the sauna yesterday morning, and he was feeling the most rotten ever, and he'd been out on, I think he said Saturday, watching some football games, and he said he'd been out since 3 o'clock in the afternoon with his mates until 3 o'clock in the morning, and he was still feeling rotten on Monday morning, so there's this aspect where, drinking like that has this effect, even like 2 days later, he's probably not feeling 100% today when I see him in the sauna again today, probably. So this aspect of even 1 or 2 drinks, I notice has an effect on me, over time, like as in the next day and the day after even. might increase my anxiety levels or amend my mood or stuff like that, you know, make bloating in my stomach as well. The other factor is possibly reflecting on weight loss and being like 115 kilos. So that kind of incremental progress over time. Doing the weights recently so I can feel my arm and back muscles and things. So that kind of feels quite good as well. So these are all things that are contributing to me feeling in a good mood, you know. The other factor is that I've planned ahead with my diary and done just about everything else I can do, because I've got stuff to do for university that you know, requires focused efforts, and also for the project management stuff. So that's all the admin attached to the project management quality improvement project. But what I've done is I've planned ahead about 2 to 3 weeks ahead and put it in for today and part of tomorrow to do that piece of work, you know. And so it's this idea of planning ahead and boxing off time for different things that you need to do so that you don't get overwhelmed with it, you know. The other thing is that when I think about the task, which could be, for example, finishing off my uni degree or finishing this massive project, as in not finishing it but cracking on with it, when I start to elongate my vision mentally into the whole picture, it can be a bit overwhelming, you know. And that creates anxiety and affects mood and makes you feel tired and all sorts of shit. So what I tend to do is I'll have little flashes of that, but I'll bring my attention back to the present. I'll take a breath, a couple of breaths, and I'll bring my attention back to this bit of, you know, kind of grass on the floor, you know, and listen to the birds a minute. But I'll also then think, right, well, how do I pull it back to thinking about just doing this report or just doing this next stage of things where I update this software platform about the project, yeah? So you bring it back from all of the vast amount of stuff that's required down just to that one task, yeah? And then when you think about that one task, it can be a bit like, oh, it's a bit big, that one task even, you know? So then what I do is I just bring my attention, I pull my attention back again, and I say, right, I'm just going to take each hour as it comes, you know? Each hour as it comes. And I'm going to do a focused piece of work. I'm going to bring it down to, like, I'll update that a little bit, and I'll update this little bit, and I'll do that, yeah? So I'll just bring it back to that hour, and then even if that hour feels a bit much, I might bring it back, my focus on what's happening for the next 15 minutes to half an hour. And then what you can also do is bring your attention back to the present moment, yeah? So little flashes of that, but then also bringing it right back to the moment, right back to this present moment, and say, right, what's happening right now immediately? And that's just invaluable for anxiety difficulties, because I've had huge amounts of anxiety, and I could quite easily have that if I allowed myself to run away with my thoughts. But the whole idea with it is you bring your attention back to the present moment, and then you kind of step forward from that moment, because generally anxiety is getting generated by projections a lot of the time, you know. Not always, but a lot of the time it's projecting into the future, you know, or other stuff like that. And so really bringing your attention back to the present moment just means, like, right, well, what am I doing now? Well, I'm enjoying some, well, that's the other thing, I'm listening to some dance tunes that are pretty kind of like that kind of 120 beats per minute kind of style, you know. And then I'm just kind of in the moment, right, what am I doing in the next half an hour when I'm walking and listening to tunes, you know, maybe making a bit of content, and then I'm going to go for a sauna and a cold plunge, you know. Yeah, and the other factor is I have been taking my electrolytes, and I also been taking creatine. So I've been stacking creatine since I started the weights program, and it's about 10 milligram a day, which is kind of above average maybe, and that has a noticeable effect as well, the creatine, you know, and drinking water and electrolytes, you know. So there's all these different factors that are at play that have led me to this point where I'm walking across a field, you know, wherever I am, and feeling pretty good, you know. But it's in some ways not by accident, you know. It doesn't just come about, you know. It's lots of little choices, and you know, yeah, it's kind of like stacking little choices and techniques like bringing your attention back to the present, you know, and listening to tunes. Yeah, and a little bit sometimes like gratitude, you know. Some gratitude aspects of being, you know, partly grateful to myself for my efforts, but also for the circumstances, and also, you know, family and the ability to have different opportunities and stuff like that, and you know, even like the opportunity to have a pair of shoes on my feet, you know, to go out for a walk, you know, and I'm appreciating these trainers, you know, even though they're getting a bit worn out. I'm doing a bit of kind of appreciation and gratitude to be having a pair of trainers, you know. So yeah, there's a lot of things at play that all contribute to building this kind of feeling within ourselves, and then it's a matter of like continuing to make these choices, or continuing to decide to do certain things. Like, instead of in my phone, I could just be looking at news channels on my phone, you know, and it'd probably be full of miserable things about the world. But instead, I'm listening to like not motivational, but you know, some cool dance tunes that I like, you know, and then kind of just noticing nature and stuff, you know. So yeah, it's kind of thinking, well, that's how I'm feeling. What's led me to feeling good today, you know. So, or at least this morning. So have a think about these micro choices that we make, and little techniques, and how they can have like a snowball effect on us, you know. But you have a good one, and best of luck with whatever you're doing.